Organized private sector in Nigeria comprising Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, Nigeria Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, NECA, had in October cried aloud about looting, burning of property and destruction of infrastructure across the country by the hijacked NSAS protest in many states of Nigeria. This is besides death toll of over 100 people since then and about 40 police officers left dead in the line of duty. Statistics collated between October 11th to October 27th indicates also many police stations were burnt, firearms stolen, including AK-47 rifles, among others. 71 public warehouses, many privately owned stores, business outfits were either vandalized or burnt. The Inspector General of Police gave a temporary statistics of over 205 critical national security assets, corporate facilities, private property were either attacked, vandalized, and in so many cases burnt. There is no doubt about the huge toll of the NSAS protest on the economy, already undergoing serious bleeding from COVID-19. Neither can we quantify the negative impact on foreign direct investment, among others. Tonight on the program, we shall be beaming our searchlight on NSAS protest, cost to the economy, the road to recovery, and matters arising. But first, this background report put together by Moplank Dakok.
Started as peaceful protests across the country in early October, was hijacked by thugs and hoodlums and turned into massive looting and arson of government and private properties, and the losses are still being counted. Economic watchers say the lootings and destruction will have implications on the nation's economic roadmap, including consequences on fiscal planning.
If you look at the budget, of course, there couldn't have been any provision for such. So the government, for the National Assembly, maybe there has to be some environment. They have to try to find a way to legislate so that additional funds can be provided in terms of extra budgeting.
The Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry estimates that 700 billion naira was lost in the first 12 days of the NSAS protest, and many economic experts say the figure is just the tip of the iceberg. It will take billions of naira to rebuild institutions and businesses, and another millions of naira to revamp and equip police stations vandalized nationwide, among others. Many private companies and organizations that were attacked are now forced to shut down, rendering workers jobless.
So the government needs to come to their aid, in terms of, summing up various losses if they can be determined. For the people that lost, whose vehicles were burnt at the car stand, people whose warehouses were looted, people whose shops were looted.
Recently, the International Monetary Fund, in its 2020 Sub-Saharan Africa Regional Economic Outlook, said that the impact of activities following the NSAS protests will affect growth projection for Nigeria, depending on how they evolve.
We expect economic activity for Sub-Saharan Africa to contract by 3% this year. No country has remained untouched by the crisis.
Despite the huge losses and wastages following the protest, Nigerians are still hopeful that the impact will not cripple an already struggling economy occasioned by COVID-19 and low global oil demand. In Abuja, Moplank Dakok, NTA News.
Background report sets the tone for the program tonight. It's Tuesday Live. At some point, our lines will be open. If I through to you, please turn down the volume of your television set in making your contributions and go straight to the point. You can also be part of the conversation tonight through our Twitter handle at Tuesday Live NTA. Please, in sending your tweets and also making your calls, make your language very polite. Don't use abusive language, please. Our focus tonight again is NSAS protest, the cost to the economy. I'm being joined tonight by Professor Yushau Ango. Professor Yushau Ango is Professor of Finance and Entrepreneurship and Dean School of Postgraduate Studies, Kaduna State University. Good to have you on Tuesday Live tonight.
It's my pleasure. Good evening.
Also tonight is Ogbonna Okuku. Ogbonna Okuku is an investment expert. Welcome to the program.
All right, thanks for having me.
Also tonight we have a banking and financial expert, Dr. Emma Isong. Dr. Emma Isong, good to see you on the program tonight. Cost to the economy. Let's look at it precisely in a generic term. This whole thing, the nexus of investment laws, protest, and cost to the economy. Let's look at it from a general perspective.
The cost enormous, and the cost is in different shades. We have cost directly as it affects destruction of public property, which has to be replaced with public funds. It also has cost as it affects businesses. Businesses were affected, some were looted, some were burnt, properties were looted. Then there is also a cost that will come in terms of lost opportunities. You know, investments ordinarily that will have come our way will have been lost. Nobody will want to invest in an economy where things are happening and things like this are happening. Coming at the time it came, that is looking at the fact that we're just coming out of COVID-19 economic issues, because the economy suffered because of lockdown, as evidenced by the results of the second quarter, which shows the GDP having a negative growth of more than 6%, hoping that by September we were likely, because the result is not out yet, but we were expecting that September will also be slightly negative, but it will have reduced from the 6%. That is our own projection. Now, coming with this now, we are not so sure what will happen to the last quarter results. It will have been affected. And as you know, if we have two successive quarters of recession, or rather of negative growth, technically then it means we have a recession. Now, what more if we have three? So certainly what happened can not be said to be unexpected. I mean, having come out of COVID and all the difficulties and challenges as it affects livelihood of everybody. But then this will go now to worsen the situation if care is not taken.
Okay, Okuku, what's your perspective?
Pretty much, if you look at it holistically, it's so clear that there's nowhere in the world where you've had protests like this that the economy of that country will not, be affected. A lot of businesses, will have will get the heat. Goods and services usually that will move from one point to the other will be disrupted, and some of these goods are perishable goods, like goods coming from the farm that moving to places like Lagos. Usually, all of those things got they all got destroyed. And again, we need to also look at things like people who didn't even know the value. We're already complaining, our country, we're already faced with, the ease of doing business, have had a lot of problems. We're trying to see how we can get that, working properly, and then this kind of thing happens. So there's so much negativity around, what's happened, and then the resultant effect of the entire process and the outcome of the entire protest. So, any which way, there's no other way to look at it as, it's all negative.
Okay. At some point, we shall be taking reports across the country, but quickly, we are also being joined via Zoom in Lagos by Ambassador Ayo Olukami. Ambassador Ayo Lukami is the Director General, Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, NASIMA. Good to see you on Tuesday Live tonight. From Kaduna, you are coming in from Calabar, Cross River State. Looking at his perspective, what is your own perspective regarding the loss to the economy regarding the NSAS protests?
We are now to be crying over spilled milk. The deed is already done. Some of you have heard across the news. Cross River State, for instance, was the worst hit of this protest, and several buildings, individual houses were burned. But I would like to put on record here on national platform that Nigerians had opportunity through this evil win. We now have opportunity to reset our economy, to change our strategy, of course, influence the budget. We have to look at the nitty-gritty of the causes and effects, not just the economic boomerang. Our policy makers will have to use this as a very crucial information in planning. So now you see security, social engineering, economic activities, political activities running pari passu in governmental programs, because as it were, a generation was left behind, which we did not train, which we did not take a look at them closely. And now we are paying a big price, and the economy is suffering. Like in Cross River State, I'm also the chairman of the Cross River State Anti-Tax Agency, looking into the well-being of the poorest of the poor, how we can lighten the burden vis-a-vis the effect of COVID-19 as being planned out by Executive Fiat of His Excellency Professor Senator Ben Ayade. But what I have to say is, not only have we left a generation behind, Nigerian policymakers, our politicians, all of us, we are stakeholders in what has happened to our great nation. Certainly it's a loss, but it can be also a zero platform for a reset of our mindset.
Central to this was the NSAS was about police brutality by Nigerians, and looking at the nexus of security and economic growth. What's your assessment, looking at the costs too to the economy?
Thank you. The economic cost of the NSAS protests that was also hijacked by some miscreants that have led to the destruction of a lot of assets, lives, and other properties. That is going to go a long way, and it's been said that we need again to address this by also singing the song to our youth that, of course, they've made a point, they've been able to speak out, and the authority have heard them. I think what we should do is to try as much as possible to ensure that destruction of this nature shouldn't occur, because if we concentrate and speak out and galvanize our grievances, the government and any other person would want to address as they are addressing. And so it was not in the best interest of Nigerians that infrastructures and some of the assets of this country that are very too dear to the economy has been destroyed. So the economy actually is greatly affected.
Ambassador, within the span of 14 days, the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry pegged the loss to the Nigerian economy at 700 billion at a breakdown of 10 billion a day. Now, looking at it and where we are, what's your perspective?
I think the figures have been explained in terms of the loss. And I think that is even a conservative estimate in terms of what Lagos State Chambers of Commerce gave. I live in Lagos, and when I saw smokes coming out and not too far away from me, subsequently I went to see at Oyinbo, those buses burning. Definitely tears will definitely come out from your eyes. We're talking about trillions in Lagos. And our colleague also from Cross Rivers also has explained to us what exactly happened. So I mean, we are talking of trillions in terms of cost to this economy. And now I think what we need to do, because I think one of the things we should do is focus on the road to recovery. What is to be done now? And I think in plain language, I think at the national level, we need what can be referred to as a Marshall Plan. And we should also have something along those lines, even at the state level. And that's why from our perspective in NACIMA, because, even if we come up with these plans, the question of implementation is key. It's the late Mario Cuomo who speaks about you campaign in poetry, but you govern in prose. You campaign in poetry, we govern in prose. We will repair these places, we will do this, we will do that. But the nitty-gritty of it is key, is very important in terms of the impact. And that's why at the NACIMA level, NACIMA is the National Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture. We are all over the country. We have city chambers in Bonny, we have in Enugu, we have in Sokoto, we have in Ilesha, we have in all over the place. This, in terms of what is to be done, our recommendation is that government at the national and state level should work closely with the national chambers like NACIMA. And why are we saying this? Because the private sector too will also play a key role in this particular area. Whatever programs you want to implement, either in terms of helping those people who have lost goods, who have lost businesses, or want to even rebuild some of those places, it is very, very necessary to work closely with the chambers movement, which is the organized private sector as a whole. Because at the end of the day, we should also know that most of these losses were also suffered by MSMEs, medium, small and medium scale enterprise, small and medium scale micro, small and medium scale enterprises. And this is why I think we should take it from this perspective. And to call a long story short, we're saying, let us go back to the point, but let us have a Marshall Plan in terms of rebuilding our economy at the national level, as well as the state level, to deal with the crises which we are facing. As far as infrastructure is concerned, small businesses owners are concerned, national infrastructure, as well as all other aspects of our nation. The economic sustainability plan which we had was talking about the dealing with the COVID thing. I think we also need something around this area now. But like I said, the key issue is implementation, effective implementation, so that we can have impact on the ground in terms of the road to recovery.
And now, as much as we know this has happened, we're now talking about road to recovery. Now, Professor Ango, the road to recovery. Government has taken certain steps. We know a lot of panel of inquiries are all over the country. The Inspector General of Police has been going around the country. Various platforms have been activated to stem the tide. So, road to recovery.
Well, all the measures that have been taken are in order, all aim at basically correcting or at least responding to the yearnings of the youth that started the protest in the first place. That was the peaceful nature of it before it became what it became. Now, the way to recover partly will be achieved by implementing a lot of those plans, that were there already in the economic sustainability plan of 2.3 trillion, which government said they were going to spend in order to reduce the impact of COVID on the economy. I think now we have to do more, especially given what has happened so far. The best way, in my opinion, is to ensure that we even implement that plan. A lot is happening. We are seeing it. We are seeing the survival fund. We're seeing many other funds that are coming up. It was part of the Economic Sustainability Plan. We are also seeing progress in terms of recruitment of the 1,000 youths per local government, which will come to about 774,000. That will help. So what basically the major pressure is that we have a useful economy. A lot of the population largely is made of youths, and many of them are unemployed or underemployed, as it were. So anything that will be done to ensure the engagement, of this teeming population will help. And one major way, and that was the thrust of the Economic Sustainability Plan from what I've seen, is ensuring utilization of local inputs in all sense, local raw materials, local labor in all sense, trying to, for government to patronize what is made in the country. By doing that, basically, you are actually getting everybody involved. Part of it even includes utilization of gas, improvement, utilization of gas resources, as alternative to, say, petroleum. And also in terms of cooking gas and all that, there is a lot of things that were packaged in the 2.3 trillion economic sustainability plan. What now needs to be done, having lost so much in terms of assets and all that, perhaps maybe we have to even do more than we have done or we have packaged in the economic sustainability plan, because now we have moved a little bit forward and we have been drawn back by what has happened. So basically, maybe 2.3 trillion may not even do it. Maybe we have to now think of something to inject the more. Now, but we know it's not like we have all the resources. This economy that has all the potential, but it does not have all the resources. So within the ambit of what we have, then we probably have to do more. But the way out is certainly to ensure that we make our economy productive, we make our youth and everybody, involved. We have to get to work, basically. That is what it will take.
Okuku, we have to get to work. As we speak, the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Amina Mohammed, is in the country on a tour of duty to countries that are affected by terrorism. And at the State House yesterday, she could not help but to speak on developments in the country. And she made appeal to the youths. And also in Delta State, the Minister of Youth and Sports had a session with youths to realize that, yes, as much as you did this, it is time to return back to status quo so that things will move straight. Let's speak to this set of Nigerians.
In reality, for us to be able to, galvanize and understand what the issues are, we need to dig deep. Dig deep in the sense that we need to understand why would this set of people act the way or behave the way they behave. They behave the way they behave because there's something that they are not seeing. Number one, efficiency. Now, they don't have the patience to wait and understand why things are not working at the pace that they want things to work. Times have changed. Things have changed. So sometimes they don't understand certain things. For example, a young man who comes out of school does not understand why he cannot get a job or she cannot get a steady job, from a country where he or she belongs to. Now, we need to now begin to look at these things, because if there are disruptions, if there are things that have happened, these are people, I call them the Twitter generation. These are people who have seen, the world is not a global village. They can sit in their room and see what's happening in Singapore. They can sit in their room and understand that the efficiency that happened in Singapore happened over a period of time. There were things, deliberate actions taken in Dubai for Dubai to become what it is now. So if we understand that, it puts us, each and every one of us, on that desk where we should start thinking beyond what are the economics of labor.
Now the understanding is there already.
Yes.
So far. So what we're saying, is it time to listen or not listen?
Now this is where I'm heading to that direction. Now, if these people are there, reconciliation now comes in. This is where I think reconciliation comes in. Now, there's this trust deficit that already exists. If you listen, I listened to each and every one of them that spoke, I mean, the majority of them, when they speak, you hear where they are coming from. So actions have to be taken. They need to see those steps being made to, to take them out. They have to see that things are changing, to benefit them. Because when situations get to a hopeless state, yes, we have packages, we have things that we are doing, we are bringing out programs as government. We need to also communicate to them more to make them understand. Just like you said, the Minister of Youth was in Delta State. These are things that we should have done earlier to make them see that government, we have programs, 75 billion, this is how you're going to access this billion. If you're having issues, you must create maybe an online platform where if a youth in Damaturu is having an issue right now, he can talk to the Minister of Youth. Then we have to also get the political leaders who are in different spheres to now begin to relate more. Just like the president said, ministers, go and meet your people. They need to have access to these people. They need to know their representatives. They need to know. And then again, the one very critical thing we need to do, every national plan we must have in this nation going forward, we must have the sub-nationals involved. You can't have a national plan without the sub-nationals. I tell you what happens. At the end of the day, each state must know what their role is, their contribution towards that national plan. Because if you draw up a plan and then one state decides that they want to build an airport, and then the national plan thinks that the state needs to, put more effort in doing a dry port, and then the person is building an airport, you have not carried the person along. So I think we should look at our national plan, have the states be part of the national plan so that we can grow as a complete entity, so that we don't grow differently. There are 3 states in the Niger Delta that want to have a deep sea port. Why won't one have a deep sea port and then the rest now have like a railways coming into those deep sea ports? These are the things that come when you're doing a national plan, having the sub-nationals as part of what you're doing. Okay. So there are lots that we have to say because, there's so much that has to happen at the same time. And again, we need to begin to, like I said earlier, the trust deficit that already exists. Our people, our leaders, the people who occupy government offices need to reach out to their people. They need to be more accessible to the people. Because the young people, it doesn't take so much to get the young people to understand. Just be there for them, talk to them. Because when they are hopeless, they have no choice but to begin to react. But that does not mean that anybody will support anybody destroying anything. But I'm saying we, the ones who are older, should be able to give direction so that we'll be able to grow this country and be like every other country that is existing in this world.
Okay. Thank you so much. Dr. M.I. Song, quite disturbing is the area of security. The police suffered a lot in this. We had police infrastructure, name it, destroyed. Humongous amounts of money, and lives were also lost. How do we look at it from this perspective? As most of the IG is going around the country to build confidence in the officers. How do we build that confidence and restore hope to ensure that we have, after all, a few days after this incident, Lagosians discovered there were no policemen on the street. They started shouting. So what should be done? Dr. My song.
So much. I'm happy the way you are connecting the security breakdown with the economic background, social disappointment. One of my colleagues, they talk about trust deficit. Let's go straight to the police issue. Nigerians have been very angry with the rules of engagement, the breach of rules of engagement by our wonderful, gallant police officers, even though some of those policemen had very good intentions. And of course, that goes back to the fact that some of our policemen are operating in very poor conditions, very low morals, not motivated at all. Their salary should not be mentioned here on national TV. And of course, the lack of training and exposure. I'm sorry to say it, our policemen themselves are disappointed. And what I would talk to Nigerians is, instead of you venting your anger on fellow Nigerians who are as disappointed as yourself, it would have been our time for police reform, to discuss about the police reform, not just in bogus allowances, but also is police my friend as a Nigerian? Because the level of my country's protection and love for me will generate my level of patriotism. Each citizen is as patriotic as the country is also protective of him. I mean, taking example from other nations. Back to the police again. The policeman on the road, how does he survive? He survives by the little pennies that drop on him. And also the man we send to go do arrest. There's a lot of disappointment. I mean, within the two divides, I mean, we cannot finish talking about the Nigerians' disappointment on the police without also discussing about the policeman's disappointment on the Nigerian. And I tell some Nigerian youths, the policeman you are killing is somebody's father. He also has youths in his house. So if you say you are youth, you want to kill a policeman on uniform, he also has youth. He has children. He's got wife. And he's somebody's father and uncle. I've got relations who are in the police force and the army. And we have to consider these things. Nigeria, see, there's a system failure here. We are beginning to look at each other as strangers. Why should you see the policeman on the street as your enemy? And yet you, policeman, why would you handle a citizen of a Federal Republic of Nigeria like a simple criminal and vagabond? That's where the breakdown is. There's a deep disappointment and hatred, especially in the SARS group of people that have just been disbanded. We need to look at it again, if possible, improve their rules of engagement. Recently, a renowned lawyer had to read out on internet, I mean, what is our right, our human right? I mean, should we stay more than 48 hours in a police cell? Should a Nigerian be jacked out of his bedroom and you start being tortured to get information? Those methods of operations are archaic and they are not good to our system. These are some of the things we should discuss that will help us in reforming the police system. We are encouraging the citizenship, and we, of course, setting the right environment, like one of my colleagues said, for doing business, easy way of doing business in Nigeria. So that's my take on that. Like in Cross River State, for instance, I've told you that more than 54 assets of government, TINAPA, Basin Authority, we're talking of great international conference center. We're burnt down by youths. There is a disconnect between our generation and the generation of these youths. Why burn down structures that will create and produce jobs for you in the future? I mean, it's like somebody getting annoyed with his wife and break his television, and break his refrigerator, and break his glasses, and burn down his house. I mean, we have to look at a way we can bring back ourselves. One of us talk about reconciliation. I pray that the Holy Scripture says all things work together for good. So I believe this can work for our good as Nigerians. We shouldn't really see this as a very terrible thing. We can come back to the drawing table, to the negotiating table, to the mediating table, and talk to ourselves. What is wrong in evolving a national discussion from what has happened? And maybe that would take us forward.
Well, looking at the IG going around the country, and just yesterday, the AIG in charge of Zone 9, the Edo State axis, appealed to police officers to return back to work. So how do we build back morale in these officers, as much as police suffer so much losses during this time?
Well, it's on the public glare that the Inspector General of Police is going round to assure officers and men of their safety and reminding them of their duty of keeping the peace wherever they are. Remember that they were one of the first groups, they were the groups that the youth were targeting because of the NSAS. And in doing that, they created a lot of fear and apprehension. And not just fear and apprehension within the cycle of the internal security, the policing method, but they also converted that kind of annoyance, that kind of action and outbursts into reality by attacking the police at various points in most of the states. They did not just stop at that, but went also to destroy some police stations. That created fear and apprehension. And these are the police. The police were those that were being accused, and they were the people that were put at the front banner for that protest. And so the police didn't need to use their arms. The police would not want to do more in a negative way by confronting this NSAS youth. And so for the IG going round, that was a good idea. And I could see now that there's a song that the IG is singing, and then the government of the day, particularly the various governors, are assuring them, building up all the structures of the police that have been destroyed, and also paying for the bills of those of them that are in the hospitals, and at the same time making some palliative for those of them they were killed during this SARS and SARS. And so this has encouraged them. So my take is that the police officer and the men must have heard now that they don't have any choice than to go back to their duty point, to rededicate themselves and to work hard, and also to amend. While a lot of the training and a lot of the issues that have cropped up due to a lot of challenges that I know very well, officers and men must go back. They must take policing very serious and internal security very serious. They should go back to their beats and ensure that they give a good piece of the action by ensuring safety of the community, ensuring safety of members of the public, because that is their primary duty. I think so far we're beginning to see police officers at beats. We're beginning to see police officers on patrol. We're beginning to see that the confidence of the police is being built up with the song and the teaching, and then the assurance of the Inspector General of Police. And I also think that the police should ensure that every nook and cranny of this country is occupied, while government look into how this could be improved and the assets be replaced, and those of them that got killed in this process, those of them that made that happen will be fished out and processed through the justice system.
Ambassador Olukami, what would you say in all this is your impressions regarding the nexus of economic growth, economic development, and security, still looking within the ambit of policing?
Well, thank you very much for that question. But before I answer that, I want to make a brief reference to something. I'm holding in my hand next generation, my phone. This is a next generation Nigeria report. And I think I need to draw attention to it. Next generation Nigerian report. It was a report which was put together 2010 to address these issues. It looked at Nigeria within the framework of the demographic framework and came to the conclusion that Nigeria's future depends on how we handle our youth, our young people. That report is still very, very 2010, 10 years ago report. All these issues we are talking about in terms of youth and things like that are in that report with its recommendation. I want to suggest that in engaging our youth, the relevant authorities should go ahead and also look at that particular report. In NASIMA, what we've done is to create the NASIMA Youth Entrepreneurs, young people who will step into the shoes in the Chambers movement. And through them, we work through a lot of programs in terms of what's to be done. Because like I said, you campaign in poetry, but you govern in prose. Implementation is the key issue. And today we were hearing the announcement that the president has, of course, launched a youth agriculture program. Very good. We have the agripreneur initiative There is the Agripreneur Initiative to bring in young people into the agricultural fold. The fact that you have a BSc maybe in English, or a BA in English or religious studies does not mean that you cannot go into the agribusiness. That is what the Agripreneur Initiative is all about. And I sincerely hope that the program which has been launched by President Buhari today, in terms of the youth, will also go to that particular area. We'll look at the Agripreneur Initiative and see how they can be a supplementary action on the two-part in terms of agripreneur, bringing in your people, because the agricultural sector is a key and very important area as far as we are concerned. Then secondly, I also want to say that we're talking about the road to recovery, because that is the key issue. And all stakeholders should work closely together. The question of security dimension of it is been explained. But we must learn lessons from the COVID fund, pandemic fund, which was announced. Because, like I say, I'm talking about a Marshall Plan for implementation in close cooperation with, of course, the private sector. The COVID fund, pandemic fund, 50 billion, which was rolled out by the CBN and others, came in too slow and too little. We are on the ground, we wear the shoes, and let me give you good examples. We had a chambers movement which was trying to come up with about using 300 cooperatives who are growing pepper, the Nsuka yellow pepper, in Nsuka. And you can imagine if you can impact on the lives of 300 farmers, cooperatives, and they applied for I think about 25. But what did they get? Maybe they received just about 900,000 naira, which is, so those funds came in too little and too slow. In whatever program we are coming up with, we must see how we can have meaningful impact in all those programs. And like we said, we must look at the bottom line. The inequality in our society is too much. It is one of the areas, one of the issues which we should tackle. And we can tackle that by looking at the MSME. And that's why in NASIMA, we're encouraging our members in this particular area that look, come forward with programs which you have so that we can work closely with you and also help you to be able to access various facilities. I'll give an example. There's a national collateral registry in which if you want to improve your business operations, you can go to the national collateral registry and seek for funding. How many people know that? These are the kind of programs which we we should talk about. And like I said, the whole question of security, the whole question of engaging our youth should have a focus. And that's why I refer to the Next Generation report. I mean, we're not reinventing the wheel. Let us go back and see what some of those reports talked about before we start again to put on a panel that will look at it. I agree, of course, that the various judicial panels that are working is quite important because the question of healing is also very important. And also the issue and question of compensation to those people who have suffered from political brutality. And this evening I was also watching the wives of the policemen who had suffered, who had lost their husband. I mean, it is heart-rending. It is all of us as Nigerians who are involved. There was what last year, before I end, we were in Rio. International Chambers of Commerce were in Rio. And the focus, the thematic focus was co-prosperity. Co-prosperity. That the Chambers movement now should not just be about businessmen lining their pocket. We should also look at our own environment. How can we impact on people, the ordinary people? Co-prosperity. I think this is one of the focus. This is what we should do as we build in terms of the road from road to recovery. So these are
in assessing the cost to the economy, the NSAS protect the cost to the economy. There's an analogy that says mixed maker reactions and winning confidence of investors on the Nigerian investment climate arising from this. Is it possible that we need to do a lot to bring back those who may have been disturbed, maybe their investments were touched and they want to leave, so that maybe we may not have what we call the capital plunging? So, looking at it, the investment climate, I want to leave that to the two of you, beginning from you. What can we do, speaking to investors, We're talking about foreign direct investment into the country. And with what has happened, it's possible that if Okuku is a foreign investor and his investment was touched, he may want to leave. So what can we do in this direction?
Well, in the example you gave, if it happens to anybody that has an opportunity to leave will leave. Unfortunately,
it's not that bad.
It's not that bad. Unfortunately, the youths that are bent in their anger, they are at the same time, unfortunately, unknown to them, actually discouraging investors. Now, having said this, there are a lot of initiatives that are taking place. I believe it should continue. If you look at the ease of doing business, as it were, some few years back, Nigerian government has been doing quite a lot, to improve the ease of doing business climate in Nigeria. I think that should continue, as much as possible. Relax and ease the way you can register a company. Even part of the COVID initiative includes, encouraging fast registration of businesses and all those things that are supposed to be done. Whatever we need to do to encourage investment, we have to. Now, interestingly, Nigeria, being the most populous country in Africa, is a vast economy that every reasonable investor will be attracted to ordinarily if things are put together. So I think, luckily, most of the loss, is not really, much of it is not to foreigners per se. But all the same, we need to encourage by creating, environments and situations that will encourage every investor to come in. Now, we can also, quite a number of them, that have been insured, for example, would feel it's not as bad as those who have not insured as much. But then, of course, that would be another challenge also to our insurance sector. But I think the country generally is taking quite a number of steps that are trying to ease the means of doing business in the country. So if we continue along that trajectory, I think we're going to get it.
Okay, let's be listened to.
I think let's look at it from an investor's prism. Okay. Now, I always say this: 4 things motivate an investor into any economy. 1, your market, the population of the nation. Not just population, but the ability for that population to purchase, having the purchasing power to actually buy whatever you're producing. Number 2, the kind of knowledge, the knowledge base of that particular environment. 3, the efficiency in the system, which is always the final denominator. If your environment is efficient, everybody will want to come to your economy to do business. Then number 4, the natural resources that you have, or the assets that people can buy into. Now, looking at these 4 things I've just mentioned, and then taking that denominator can cancel out the other things that you have. And if you notice, I didn't say anything about force majeure. I didn't mention force majeure because a foreign investor is not bothered about those kind of things per se, disruptions like that per se, because like you mentioned, insurance. If I have insurance from either MEGA and multilateral agencies or international insurance companies, if anything happens to my business anywhere I go to do business, that's why you've been wondering why people are still doing business in certain countries, is because they have this kind of insurance. Now, this is where we need to look critically at what the issues are and how we're going to come out of our problems. If you must get your economy to work, efficiency must be number 1. Efficiency in your bureaucracy, how things, when processes start and when they finish, they have to be predictable. If, for example, let me use one very simple illustration. You want to do power in Nigeria today, as we speak today. You must have an interface with at least 7 government agencies. And these are all set up by law. You go to NERC for the license. You must go to NGC for your gas purchase agreement, for them to give you the gas that you need. You must go to TCN to get your evacuation corridor to make sure you can, take out the power that you're generating. You must go to NBET, because power is not something you put on the shelf. You must move it out, through somebody has to guarantee that, you must go to Ministry of Environment to get an EIA done. So what I'm just trying to say in essence is that these are the kind of things that worry an investor more than telling me that the youth of a nation have started protesting. No, an investor is not worried about the protest. They're more worried about the efficiency in your system.
So are you saying it will never affect investment at all?
No, I'm not saying it will affect, and because it's not a war. We're not talking about a war situation. It's just people ventilating or trying to air their views about certain issues. So what I'm trying to say in essence is, let's pay more attention in educating our people to an extent where they will know that what you go to school to do is not to acquire certificates. You go to school to learn how to task your brain to become innovative, to create things. Because it starts from our basic education level to where we are, where we will now begin to become creative. So I say this all the time. You're not doing the youth a favor by creating jobs for them. You're actually bringing energy, innovation, creativity into your system when you have the young people being part of what you're doing. Like I said earlier, they're always looking for better ways to get things done by nature. That's how they are by nature. Now, coming to the other issue which the other guest was talking about, when we're talking about rebuilding some of these things, I actually need to raise this issue. One, sir, it's actually an opportunity for us, like Pastor Isong said. It's an opportunity for us to bring the people and the police using the police trust fund that you have. Government, we already have a deficit in our budget, the 2021 budget that we're looking for funds. We're going to be borrowing money to fund. So you shouldn't burden the budget anymore. Now, this is a time we should reach out to the communities, like what is happening in Anambra State today. The communities are now the one rebuilding the police stations. Now, if the policeman sees that the police station where he is, his office is being built by the community, I don't think he will have the moral justification to want to molest or treat anybody anyhow. So the police and the people now become one. And then this same thing will replicate, transparently replicate when it comes to their barracks. Let the people now start to contribute to their welfare. If we start contributing to their welfare, they will now also start, doing their job from their heart. And then their training, this is now the area where I think government should focus on. Their training, to make sure that they get world-class training. And if they get this world-class training, then you will now also look at VIP protection is an industry that we're not looking at. And if you have issues of security, it's an opportunity also. Every single, the IG should sit down and map out every political officer or whoever it is must have a particular police or attached to the person. The rest, you pay for it. If you start paying for it, then they can have more money to recruit more people and then have more people trained. That's how it's done all over the world. One of our guests said something about inequality. This is how you begin to bridge, and bring equality in your system. Where if you want to get police, there has to be a structure where VIP protection becomes a department in Nigerian police force. Where they can now train people who their job, if you want to hire 300, that's your business. Just come and pay. Each policeman will cost you this amount. Then you can take them. If you want to have 300 sirens, that's your business. That means we're earning money from you having those kind of things.
What if there are no safeguards and the one particular person decides to take 500 policemen?
I will train more.
Okay.
I will train more.
Well, if you're just joining us, the focus tonight is on NSAS, aftermath of NSAS cost to the economy. You can be part of the conversation through our Twitter handle at NTA, at Tuesday Live NTA, and also our phone numbers will be displayed on the screen. In sustaining the conversation, we are going to take a couple of reports. When we come back, we shall go to Dr. Emma Song, Joshak, and Ambassador Ayo in Lagos. Let's take the first report coming in from Lagos.
as an emerging market struggling to return to its performance after suffering from the huge blow caused by COVID-19 pandemic, resulting in the nation's gross domestic product contracting by 6.1% year-on-year in second quarter of 2020. The federal government economic sustainability plan aimed at boosting local production and provide liquidity for macro, small and medium enterprises so as to remain in business, as well as various economic policies initiated to grow the non-oil sector, positively impacted the economy to preventing it from sliding into recession.
So all of these things also have implications for the economy, because we are talking about public funds that we'll have to use to be able to rebuild these things. And these funds have what you call in economics high opportunity cost. Because if you are not going to use it to rebuild, we'll have used it to do something else, which will have been very beneficial to the economy. So those are the levels of losses that we had. Losses at the micro enterprise level, losses at the macroeconomic level, and losses as to the impact on our infrastructure.
While the country is still adjusting to the current reality of the pandemic and cutting down spending on both recurrent and capital expenditure so as to meet up with the expectations of its citizenry, the nation was confronted with the NSAS protest, which was hijacked by some unidentified youths to vandalize and loot property, which has negatively affected the economy.
I think today, with the ongoing looting and damage of warehouses, Nigeria has lost not less than 2 trillion naira. The damage that happened with hoodlums within Lagos State alone, Lagos has lost nothing less than 800 billion naira.
The one-time destruction to both government and private property has resulted in taking some macro, small and medium enterprises out of business, while the big conglomerates are picking up their pieces to return to work.
Let's take a listen to this perspective from Ilorin.
Are still counting their losses.
Once the source of livelihood is tampered with, the impact is far-reaching. Some of them took loans, some of them took cooperative loans, and that's all of their hope. Some people have worked for 30 years, that's all that they gather.
We have more than 800 people, more than girls and boys that worked there. What do you want us to do now?
The damage is massive and it's heartbreaking. Our working equipment, our store was boggled. Virtually everything in the store we are taking away. If not for the standing building, every other things are gone. We don't even have table nor chair to sit to do our work.
Fans, ceiling fans, standing fans, and some of other things are wheelbarrows, our watering can, because we are Federal Ministry of Environment. We're involved in planting of trees and raising seedlings. Some of the things that we use to wet, those seedlings that we raise, everything were carted away, even our files.
The state government, in conjunction with the organized private sector, can propose an insurance cover for the affected victims. An insurance cover for a period of 2 years. Give them insurance to cover their business as an assurance that even if we don't pray for it to happen, we have such a repetition, it will be on record that government gave them an insurance for 2 years. The private people, private business entrepreneurs who have rented business there, we need to make sure that these same people are back on their feet. If these same people are not back on their feet, other oncoming investors will not be willing to engage business in that venue again.
Kwara State government has, however, put together an SME recovery fund of 500 million naira to assist all those whose businesses were affected during the looting.
Our next stop is Jos Plateau State.
Longer news that Nigerian youth last month embarked on a peaceful protest tagged #EndSARS to demand the disbandment of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad SARS unit, as well as other reforms in the Nigerian police. But the news is a tale of woes that followed when hoodlums hijacked the process, leading to mob attacks on citizens, security personnel, killings and vandalization of both public and private places.
You will discover that many of those things were looted. The states have lost a lot of resources that were meant to develop from one point in time to the other. And these losses will be very serious to just build them back all at once.
The massive looting of COVID-19 palliatives took center stage from Lagos to Calabar, Ekiti to Osun, Plateau to Taraba, amongst many other states that witnessed what could be termed as unimaginable and unprecedented looting of both public and private places, with losses counting into billions of naira.
The level of destruction and the carnage is unbelievable and unacceptable. We are still trying to carry out a comprehensive evaluation of the total cost of damage. However, the preliminary report by a team of experts I constituted has estimated the loss to be put at about 75 billion naira for now.
These destructions, no doubt, will have a severe impact on the economy. What then are the implications and the way forward in the rebuilding process?
Apart from the items that were picked, even the structures that were destroyed, I just look at how it will cost government again to rebuild most of those places, and how it also cost the individuals, depend to even have the structures back.
The hoodlums actually attacked two of our agencies, the Plateau State Water Board and the Plateau State Rural Water Supply and Sanitation Agency.
Quite disturbing there, but we have to move on as a country. Well, Dr. M.I. Song, I understand you're also, besides being a financial expert, you are the chairman of the Cross River State Task Force on Anti-Taxation, if I'm correct to say that. Looking at the pictures, the reports, and the reaction by Nigerians, from a national perspective, coming from a state that was also affected, what advice will you give, or how best can we build back?
Thank you so much. That's a very powerful perspective to handle this issue. And let me give you a story. When I was in secondary school, we lived in a dormitory, and each of us had complaints of losing money, pocket money. And so one day we had a meeting, security meeting, so to say. So we discovered one of those guys was in charge of pilfering. This is what we did. So we now decided when our parents give us pocket money, we hand over to him to keep for us with a promise that we'll give him some little money to survive. From that day, we hadn't lost a kobo in our dormitory, which meant the guy was a thief. So what is the way forward? These hoodlums are supposed to be instrument of labor, instrument of productivity. Bring them into the house. Bring the youths into governance. There is a distance, there's a disconnect between the people and the government, the governed and the governance. Now, back to Cross River State, the purpose of the anti-tax agency was to take away burden. His Excellency the Governor talked about, had dreamt about, of course, had foreseen this kind of situation. So he was taking away the burden, like I said, as a post-COVID-19 palliative, taking away the burden from Cross Riverians, the vendors, taxi drivers, keke napep drivers, market women, taxi drivers. And so the purpose was to reduce the burden of taxation so as to allow the people's level of productivity to surge, and so they can be able to vent for themselves. So I recommend that, number one, the youths, whom we call hoodlums today, can be brought in as a factor of production, because population has its own advantage, even in other countries. I mean, talking about Indonesia, India, Pakistan, even Korea. The Nigeria can use the teeming population of the youths, because as it were now, the youth population is overtaking other sections of the population. And so we must get them busy. As the adage goes, the idle hand is the devil's workshop. Get these guys busy. And then secondly, let's, like one of the guests said, let's create back the trust in governance. Politicians promise so much and they do so little. This has created the vacuum in the democracy. Of course, basically, what is the democracy? Government of the people, by the people, for the people, from the people. But when we take over power and we are sworn in different levels of governance, we have lost the people. And so they just see big cars driving on the street, and they just see mighty mansions rising on the neighborhood, and they have nothing to show as the evidence of democracy. So let the political class also take it as a responsibility, because part of security is to make sure everybody has eaten. And a hungry man is an angry man. Okay, look at the coordinative way this vandalization took place. Was there a meeting somewhere in Jos or in Calabar or in Lagos? I don't think there was any particular meeting, or else the security agents would have gotten a hint. But look at, they are looting the water board, the Ministry of Water Resources in the Jos, and they also looted the Ministry of Water Resources and Water Board in Calabar. Look at the synchronization and the resemblance. Look at the similarities of operations of these youths, and there were no coordination, there were no walkie-talkies, there were no commanders. In fact, there were no leadership. So the boomerang, the after effect, we are reaping what we sowed as a people. We have left these guys on the street. We call them hoodlums, but they could have been working somewhere. They would have turned them to means of production. So getting these people back to production. Another thing I want to say is that government keep announcing big figures, 23 trillion, 2.3 trillion. These youths, they have camera phones, they are on internet, they are hearing these figures. If at the end of the day, these monies don't trickle down, these announcements, these budgets, these pronunciations, these policies don't trickle down to them, they feel cheated. Another thing I want to say is fighting corruption is important in nipping this thing in the bud. We've got to fight corruption. There are cases of corruption being shown on television, how billions of dollars and hundreds of billions were used as palliatives by some people, and we've not heard about how those people were punished, how the different national arms of National Assembly brought these people to their knees. These youths are watching us daily, announcing huge figures in our budgets and in our policy statements. They are hungry. They want to see themselves being brought in to also be party to the national cake.
Habila Joshak, now most times it is said when you're angry, you hold your reaction in terms of what to say because the tongue is powerful. What would have happened if maybe there was some kind of interface between the security structure and the people build up to this development? Would we have nipped it in the bud before it happened?
That's a very good question. You will agree with me that the Nigerian police have been trying to launch another platform of methods of policing. A policing that members of the public and the police will build trust. As it is now, a lot of members of the public, where policing is taking place, those that police that area do not have a connection. And so officers come up and begin to police an environment the way they think it's best. But the best way to police an environment is to share with members of the public, the people you are policing, asking them what their challenges are and how this solution could be found. And once you do that, you are going towards what we call the community policing. Bringing the people into what you are doing, setting up the goals and objectives of a particular environment, members of the public must partake in it. And if that is done, then the result is going to be a very robust one. Having said that, we've been talking about policing. Nigerians, or the Nigerian police, are found in a lot of foreign missions. It was the police officers in Liberia that brought peace in conjunction with some other military officers, but the internal security was the Nigerian police. The conduct of the first election was the Nigerian police. And so many other countries, we have a lot of, the Nigerian police has a lot of commendation when they are out. But here, there are problems. And the problems are that if we must work with the people and understand their situation and know what exactly are their security challenges through collaboration or collaborating with them. In other words, the police should be able to have a training that is commensurate with the challenges in terms of security in the environment he finds himself. The Nigerian police officers must also be made to have capacity to be able to police, patrol the environment or a bit that is given to them. We do not, the Nigerian police as it is today, does not have a reverse training methods that will put them and raise the bar, because crime is dynamic. And if you use the system and process of training that we've had in the past, it's not going to feed in. The training schools are inadequate, are not equipped. Some of them are those that we got from our foreign masters. And so we have a lot of challenges, and if we must ensure that policing is robust, that the police will effectively patrol Nigerian space in terms of combating crime, like what we do in other countries, then we need to have a rethink. First, to look at the budgetary, the requirements in terms of logistics. We've talked about training, and then the remuneration, the welfare. Seeing police outside is a big pride. Coming in here, I want you to take a look at what is happening. The equipments, the logistics, we keep talking about them. The budgetary is nothing to write home about. We know that the paucity of fund. Release is another big problem. And so if we focus on some of these things, the training, the logistic, increasing the strength and proper training, and then the remuneration, and finding a platform where the policeman in Nigeria and the people he police have agreed as to what the security challenges are in that community. And in doing that, then the confidence of the members of the public that we police will be rest assured, and then there will be synergy, and then there will be results. And so we need to go back to the drawing board to address this. Otherwise, all that we're saying will amount to nothing as serious effort.
Quickly, but our first caller tonight, Abdullah, has been on the line. Hello, Abdullah, you are on to Tuesday Live tonight. He's calling from Abuja. Hello, Abdullah.
The first what I want to say here, I want to use this medium to sympathize with the children, the family of some people that lost their life during the NSAS protest. Actually, I was born 1982. I'm a young person now, getting to 39 years. But I'm not seeing reason why to join people that go into the state saying that they are protesting against police brutality. Why now? The same way Nigeria people are crying that there is no police on the road, there is no police in the city. Why are we asking the IGP now to deploy police to protect us? Which police are we looking for now? What are you looking from them? True, I'm a youth. You can't deny me to call me because I'm 39 years now. You can't call me I'm old. This is my time, but I never think for a second to support this kind of insights. are protected. I'm from Plateau State, indigenous of Kanam local government. See the kind of things what government are providing for us. Go to from Kanche to Germany, Bashar. Go see the kind of work where construction and reconstruction of roads that will link Plateau State with Taraba State. Go see how youth are working there. Is it not the work creation for Nigeria youth? I don't see anything that we are going to say police brutality, police so this, police are human beings. We are crying for life. We are killing police, burning property.
Thank you, Abdullahi.
Thank police house.
Thank you, Abdullahi. That's the most we can take. Abdullahi, you've made your point. But quickly, before we take a couple of tweets, let's quickly go to Ambassador Ayo Olukami. Ambassador Ayo Olukami, in all this, something is playing out. What is the insurance culture in Nigeria? Given the perspective of Professor Ango and Okuku, they have thought about the fact that as much as the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry talked about a most likely that foreign investors will go and it will plunge the capital market, all that. They have said that doesn't happen if you have an insurance cover in place. But a lot of persons that you heard the reports are going to loan money, are going to banks to borrow money. If there was an insurance culture and businesses, whether public or private, are insured, will we get to this?
Certainly, the insurance culture in Nigeria is still very, very low. I mean, and that's one of the things which we do in the Chambers of Commerce to encourage our members when they start businesses. Please make sure that your businesses and operations are well insured. It is very, very important. If we have that, we would not be, things will not be as bad as this in terms of what exactly will happen. So we need to, ramp up the culture in terms of encouraging, even at the personal level, in terms of people having insurance. That is very key. But before I go on, I just, please permit me to just quickly make a reference to the question of which one of our panelists spoke about in terms of police and policing. I before this assignment, I served in the Nigerian Foreign Service for 35 years. I served 2 times. I served, in the PAM mission in New York. I served at the UN in New York. That means the US. I also ended up as High Commissioner of Nigeria in Australia. And I remember that even at the UN, the Nigerian police men and women are always coming top, always winning award in terms of their operations, in terms of what they do. When we had crises with 419 and scamming in Australia, the Queensland police was the one that worked closely with the mission to be able to trace a lot of the 419s that they came to Nigeria and work closely with Nigerian police. It means that in terms of the federal structure, we need to do something. The structure we have now in terms of police and policing is not working. And that's why I'm glad that there's reference to the community policing in terms of what exactly can happen. We need to face it squarely in terms of the possibility of state policing, or one way or the other, for respective state to be able to be truly in terms of policing and security as far as the country is concerned. That is one aspect I thought I should raise that. Now, let me go back again now to the question and issue, because the pictures which we saw in terms of people looting and others is so heartrending, is so terrible, which we say that is an indication of the crisis in terms of the inequality in our society. But apart from that, I had raised up the Next Generation Report, Next Generation Nigeria Report, 2010. A whole range of things we'll be discussing in this night are in those reports with recommendations. And that is why, like I said, in NASIMA, we pick up and started the NASIMA Youth Entrepreneurs so that we can start inculcating in our youth the sense of responsibility that this is your country, this is your future. Please take it from that perspective and work towards that. One of the areas which we also work on, like I said, is the question and issues of agriculture, agripreneur from the word agriculture and entrepreneurship, that forms the word agripreneur, to encourage a large number of our young people. Because Agriculture now is not just agriculture. We are talking about agribusiness. And the opportunity is there for many of them. And like I said, just this evening, I saw on NTA, President Buhari also launched an agricultural initiative for young people. There should be a synergy as far as that is concerned in terms of that particular area. And lastly, also, like I said, as the Chambers of Commerce, we are all over the country. The opportunities in Sokoto, we're trying to encourage our people to bring in the youth, to also encourage them as far as entrepreneurship itself is concerned. Because we must tackle the question and issues of poverty and empowerment in respect of those of our youth, and also their respective opportunities in various areas are there. I served also, like I said, in Australia. Western Australia exports $60 billion of iron ore to China. And you'll be shocked and surprised the large number of people who are in that industry, in that area, including young people, in terms of the entire value chain. Look at Kogi State, brimming with iron ore. State at the national level, it means that they must wake up to it as well, as far as that is concerned. But I'll come back to the issue which you raised in terms of insurance. I sincerely hope the respective areas and also the National Association of Insurance, as well as all other stakeholders, will also draw it up now and let people know that this is the 21st century. You can't be operating a business without insurance. Even in your own house, even in your own car. It's not a question of go and get a license of police, let me go, the third party. No, we must ramp up that culture. It is key and it's very important. And now this is one of the things, because we must learn lesson to this as we plot the road to go back in terms of what we refer to as a new Marshall Plan for impact and the potentials in Nigeria is huge. I serve as DG Nasima. Till tomorrow, people start coming, sending me letters. They want to do virtual meeting, business to business meeting. I said, look, we are facing this problem. I said, no, we know that you will get out of it. This is why we want to start. So people are positioning themselves to work to harness the business potentials in Nigeria. But we must first do this on our part. And this is one of the focus we are having as far as the Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture is concerned. We are all over the country and we are ramping up and, of course, working closely with our members to be able to take advantage of what is in their respective areas to tackle the issues before us. Thank you.
I hear we have a caller from Gombe State, Zia. Is Zia still there? Can we hear you? Hello, Zia.
Yes, good day, sir. Good day, sir.
Go straight to your point, please.
Yes, first of all, I'd like to send my sympathy to who lost their family members during the protest, and also on the part of the law enforcement. I would like to thank them and congratulate them for a job well done. For it is not easy while we sleep in the comfort of our bed. They are at the war front or on the street protecting our lives. But what I would like to contribute to the topic of this NSAS is that Nigerians are not looking at the roots of what actually instigated the process. I was watching a video a friend sent to me some days ago through WhatsApp, and the pastor was talking about the root causes of corruption. I'm a Muslim by faith, but for what that pastor is saying is actually true. The root of this problem is corruption. When you have corruption running in the country without being tackled, that are responsible for it are the same people, and they are not being prosecuted nor punished whenever they practice it. One of the main points that pastor said was that a policeman who is protecting those people is earning not even 20% of the salary of our senators and our governors and our other political office, and yet you ask him to sacrifice his life, his comfort, his sleep to protect us. I don't think that is fair. And also, when they die in the line of duty, their families are not looked after, their children are not looked after. Even the money that the family are supposed to get, sometimes their bosses or their senior rank officers tend to hijack those money for themselves. This is what is happening in the police. This is what is happening in the military and other security forces. The youth, between the youth, I think I would like to say is between youth. We don't know how to vote right. Sometimes we overlook the actual habits of a person or his character. We tend to go for religion, tribalism, and party sake. We do not vote the right people into power. I remember watching a news on channel about 3 years back. They were talking about the constitution in the Federal Republic that say you could not allow anybody who has a case with any security agency or corruption commission to hold a position of power in the state. But they listed 15 senators and representatives, who most of them are ex-governors, with corruption cases with the EFCC. And yet they are.
Oh, it looks we lost that call. Okay. Okay. Zia, just wrap up your point now.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Zia. Ali has made his point there. He hinged more on corruption. But quickly, we have 2 more reports. But before I take that, let me go through an avalanche of tweets that are here. So we'll come back after listening to the reports from Port Harcourt and Benin Edo State. We'll react to the tweets. The first one here is coming from Babatunde. Babatunde says, poor government policies cost more to the economy. Baba Yaza says, the government and the media, indeed our institutions, are underestimating digital status we are in today. Is beyond talk the talk, considering abuses, consider accolades, right to a leader, all of a sudden to be replied, noted, than action. Such reply is abuse which may trigger fake news. At Divines says, awesome discussions. I disagree with regulations, but stronger agree to government relating to people and a rapid response team to counter fake news. When it shows up, the government needs to invest in these new technologies. It can't be overemphasized. Young Didi says, good evening, sirs. In my own suggestion, I think that the only way fake news can be eradicated is taking the media to the streets. We'll react to these tweets quickly after this report from Port Harcourt and Benin. But beginning with the one from Port Harcourt.
As the country counts its losses from the NSAS protest, which created a cloud of uncertainty around the nation's economy, analysts say the results will continue to be felt for a long time, leaving the country with the challenge of rebuilding. The protest, no doubt, resulted in the loss of revenues, means of livelihood, and property worth millions of naira.
People were out of their businesses. People got afraid and shut their stores, shut their businesses, and it had a negative impact on the economy.
You go to market recently, everything has skyrocketed. Rice you bought for a particular amount of money has increased like in 40%. So what are we saying? Are we going to change the economy or grow the economy?
Cost of living, cost of commodity, transportation, everywhere has been affected.
The losses, which were accompanied by several looting and vandalism, including 4 police formations in Oyibo Council area, Oil Mill Axis of Aba Road, Ikoku and Maitri, created negative impact which is ravaging the state's economy.
Number of policemen killed, 3. Number of stations bombed, 3. All under Oyibo Area Command.
We are trying to see how we can help ourselves, and now the properties are being destroyed. So before the government would want to come into it, I think it's also going to take much money.
The NSAS protest, which keen observers said is not just against police brutality, but also unemployment and poverty. They harped on the need for government to expedite actions to raise revenues through the area of non-oil resources to pave the way for job creation and improve economic potential.
Let's take a listen to the one from Benin.
One outstanding handicap of the NSAS protest was the destruction of government and private property. This growing convention of looting has no doubt left the likes of Vincent Ikejuba and other victims whose warehouses were looted in a pitiable situation.
2 Nuna 11, 2
I bought. They used the vehicle to convey Dick out of my warehouse. Discovered the vehicle at Ikonilo here with burnt body.
I'm owing the bank. I'm owing the company that supply me these goods. It's when they supply me these goods, I sell and return their money. I don't know what to do. Let them help me.
While the police had 5 of its stations in Benin City destroyed and valuable items carted away, the office of the NDLA, the state government warehouses, and that of the customs were also not spared. The destruction has affected sundry trades and industries. Many are now stranded, consumed by the trouble of forging a restoration.
Some of the losses are drugs that were in fact expired, some were dangerous, some were drugs that have been seized, some were drugs that were not to be used, and if they have entered the community, then that will have very negative effects.
There are settled provisions in our laws, sufficient provisions that guide against looting. Stealing itself, it's a kind of looting is a kind of stealing, and then for some of these persons, they went further to damage in the course of looting. So malicious damage is also provided for in our criminal code.
Normalcy has since returned and businesses have fully resumed, but citizens' apprehension is high. The imposition of a curfew by the state government, analysts say, will check activities of criminals and help to soothe sore nerves.
Well, those are reports from Port Harcourt and Benin, Edo State. Well, let's take this caller before we sustain this conversation. Mohammed is on to Tuesday Live.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Good.
Okay. We are just deceiving ourselves in this country because all the times when things happen, it reveals the true identity of what's happening in our country. It happens during the COVID-19. It shows how weak the healthcare system of the country is. Now, the issue of the NSAS protesters, the looting of the palliatives. The question is this: why is the palliatives kept in the warehouses while those palliatives are supposed to be distributed to the poor people that were suffering during lockdown, and the government sent those palliatives as a relief? Why the governors kept the palliatives in the warehouses? This is the question mark. Would they keep the palliatives so that they can use them during election, so that they can change the facts and put their political party symbol and distribute it to the people? Now the people located these palliatives, and unfortunately they looted the palliatives and they also looted other people's properties. We are just deceiving ourselves in this country. I cannot join a protest because I struggled to study as a student in this country. Anybody who have knowledge will not join a protest that will lead to destruction of other people's properties. But what about the people that don't have the opportunity to pursue their studies? Now, look at what is happening with regard to the ongoing strike of the ASU. About 7 to 8 months, ASU is on strike. What is the government doing? The students are at home, and this thing happened. These are the things that are encouraging people to be desperate. During this entrance protest, if there is a school, I don't think many people will have joined. And students are still at home because our leaders don't care. Why? Because most of their children are not studying here. Even our governors, even the president and other people, most of their children do not study here in Nigeria. Only the poor people study here. So we are just deceiving ourselves in this country. And we hope for a change in the future. But the direction we are going now is very bad, and these are signs that are telling us that the country is not going forward and is not doing the right. So it was very unfortunate, the looting of people, properties, destruction of government properties, killings, all because of a protest. A protest that was supposed to be a peaceful one, but it was hijacked by some people, and all these unfortunate things happen. We hope that this kind of a thing will not happen. If the government is serious, these things need to be tackled. The issue of unemployment, highest level of unemployment. The government cannot employ everybody. But there are so many things that the government should do that will allow other people to be investing themselves. Look at Nigeria, a country like Nigeria. We don't have electricity up to now. We don't have, access to electricity. So these are the things that is, taking the country back. So that's why there is the highest level of unemployment. And,
thank you so much, Mohammed. That's the much we can take from you. You have made your point. Thank you, Mohammed. Well, quickly, so that we don't run out of time, let's go to Lagos and allow Ambassador Ayo react to the issue of technology and give us his last thought before we come back to Abuja. Ambassador Ayo.
Well, thank you very much, for coming back to me. Certainly, Tuesday Night Live, 1.5 hours, we cannot be able to exhaust all the issues. But what we are focused on tonight, the NSAS protest, the cost to the economy, I think we've all seen it. And then, of course, the road, the path to recovery. And that's why in our respective areas, each and every one, we're all stakeholders. We must work to see what we can do practically. And I made reference to what we're doing in the Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, through our respective chambers, all over the country, the nooks and crannies, even in some of the smallest villages, we're using it as a platform to tackle key issues of poverty and also to raise the new generation of people who can go into employment. Because one of our speakers now made reference to the fact that government cannot employ everybody. It is now clear. I was in a generation that when they came to the University of Ife to recruit me, and I served in the foreign army, and I had about 3-4 jobs before I left. So in terms of soaking up unemployment, I'm giving the youth the hope that entrepreneurship is one of the way to go. And I think that is why it is the key. It is very important that we have such issues like this in terms of what just has been what I referred to in terms of agripreneur, because agriculture is one of the key areas. And then we must also not forget the gender dimension too as well, because a lot of our women are also impacted. We can see some of the women who are there who are impacted in terms of these are women who have small little business. During the COVID pandemic and others, we conducted a survey, and we saw that one of the groups that was most impacted were women. They were women, and that's why we're very delighted that 40% of some of the stimulus packages which is coming up is also being given to women. And that's why we're encouraging women-owned businesses and businesses to come forward and take advantage of that. But in closing, as a major stakeholders, especially from the private sector, we want to work closely with all stakeholders. We're ready to work with government and all of that. And also at the subnational level, the states have a lot to do. And that was why we said the respective chambers of commerce in respective states stands ready to work with respective state government and government institutions to be able to make an impact in terms of recovery at the end of the day, back to, of course, what we used to know. In terms of our country remains one of the greatest, of course. In Africa, we play a lot of key role. Of course, even in the world as well, we're a force to be reckoned with all the resources which we have. And I'm an incredible optimist as far as our country is concerned. I think we will continue to work on it and work closely. And I want to thank NTA for the good work you're doing in terms of, because communication impacts on all phases of development. And I think that's what you're doing through the various programs which you have in the Nigerian Television Authority. Thank you very much.
Olukami, Director General, Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture. It was nice having you on Tuesday Live. He joined us via Zoom in Lagos. Thank you so much. Now let's go to Dr. Emma Song. Dr. Emma Song, Nigeria is 60 and still counting, and you say at 60, Nigeria has seen it all. Some will say that is not enough for us to not to have hope against fear. Now, with all this, Nigeria must move on. People will say the indivisibility of Nigeria remains sacrosanct. What word of caution and advice do you have for Nigerians holistically as you take your last word on the program?
So much at 60, we are supposed to be a mature nation, trailblazer in Africa, frontliner, door opener, of course, the giant of Africa. We must be able to harness our diversities to become strength. I've traveled around the world. I've been to about 50 nations in 5 continents. I've come back to Nigeria and believe in Nigeria. There's something about this nation and the multicultural, multi-religion, multi-languages of the people. Of course, you know, in flower, the multicoloredness and multi-differences in the flower is what makes the petals beautiful. So Nigeria is a great nation with good people, but the inability to have the political willpower, the administrative know-how, we just lack that to be able to get the people together on board. We are people of great destination. And of course, I would like to talk about the area of patriotism. Why is it that when we are playing football against Brazil, we don't have religion, we don't have language, but as soon as we come back, we're fighting over those very little minor infinitesimal stuff that divide us. So at 60, let's also stimulate economy, because business of government is not business. Government has no business in business. Purpose of government is supposed to stimulate and create rightful environment, protect lives and properties, and create environment for people to thrive in their businesses. That's the main purpose of government. But so I think if we create that enabling environment, all regions will develop, like one of the speakers said, and every Nigerian will feel proud, because very soon, I don't know what is going to happen. Nigerians are going to be coming back home. But what is that thing that will encourage them and motivate them to come back home? Every Nigerian abroad wants to come back home. I can tell you, I've been there, I've seen people that I've discussed with, and they want to come back home. But do they want to come back to a nation that is restive, a nation you cannot be proud to call your own, a nation that is practicing British form of education, American form of politics, and of course, we have other nations infringing and influencing us day by day in our thinking. We should have a culture called Nigeria. We should have a thinking called Nigeria, and then we'll be able to be proud of ourselves.
A banking and financial expert, and also a patron of the Nigeria Union of Journalists. Thanks so much for being on Tuesday Live tonight. So, Joshak Habila, well, all hope is not lost. The way forward. There's a social contract between the Nigeria police and the citizens. Which way forward?
Yes, I would want to say again that the social contract between the government and the citizen is security and welfare. For once, we have come to a point where we do not need to mince words, that the internal security outfit, the Nigerian police, as the lead agency, must occupy their place here in Nigeria. The government must take the challenges by every strength and confidence that for once, documents that have already, all these challenges have been properly documented. They are available any day. They should dust that and make sure that the police is properly repositioned. The people's police, training, equipment, and all other logistics that are required is a must. So that this country for once should be able to restore the confidence in the public of their safety using the Nigerian police. And I think we've gotten to this stage that we must ensure that what we said we should do, the government must have the capacity, the ability, and the commitment to for once take these challenges and solve them so that safety of Nigerians and their properties is guaranteed.
G of the Nigeria Police Force and also a lawyer. It was nice having you on the program tonight. Studio here, let me begin with Okuku. Okuku, the tweets hinged on technology and fake news. Let me take you on technology. One of the tweets is advocating the need for emphasis on technology.
We, as a nation, first things first, I always say this, by primary geography, I was taught that the sun is the one that does the entire work. All the moon does is to position well, and then it reflects and it rules at night. I'm not saying that we're inferior, but I'm just trying to say in essence is, since we have not gotten to a level where we can have Silicon Valley and all of that, as a nation, we must begin to borrow most important things like where the world has gone to. The world will not wait for you. Whether you like it or not, the world is moving, and technology is where the world is now. So if it's whatever you want to do when it comes to, you have arguments on whether I need to go into a payment system in a nation, people want to go on strike because of technology, it boils down to the level of education that we have here. If the people who are supposed to be teaching me are running away from being on a payment system which is domiciled through a technology, I wonder what the person has to teach the young people or teach me who want to actually live in that advanced world where the world is today. So what am I trying to say in essence? We need to go back to our education system. There's so much that have gone wrong, starting from the basic education, begin to teach our children how to think analytically from childhood. Then there are things we need to eradicate. They should take religion away from our curriculum as far as this nation is concerned, because there's always this issue when it comes to thinking analytically and then being able to marry religion with those analytical thinking. Some of these children, their mates in China are thinking about how to go to space and all of that, and they are here thinking about how to marry religion with what exists with the new forms of technology. Then again, we need to also begin to get the young people to be part of what you're doing in governance, because if you don't have them be part of what you're doing in governance, it'll be difficult for you to understand where they are coming from, where they are headed, and it becomes a problem. So whether we like it or not, technology has come to stay, and that is where the world is now. Agriculture is functioning well with technology. As I'm talking to you now, there are countries where you have technology have changed everything. For example, the herders farmers clashes that used to be a problem in countries like Botswana ended because technology was introduced. Just by adding an RFID chip on every cattle that exists in that country. They have more cattle in Botswana than human beings. Today, as we speak, cattle is a cow leg. Cow leg is sold for 25 pula. 25 pula is about 500 naira. Cow leg, the entire cow leg, the two of them joined together, is sold for that amount. How much is cow leg in Nigeria? Because we still don't know value of some of these things. So technology is the only thing, is one of the most important things that can help us. Using GPS to even do using your tractors in the farm, you need technology. Okay, so technology is the way of.
Okay, Professor Ango. Yes. Just like they will say, when you throw a bullet or a bomb in the marketplace, that's the marketplace. The bomb does not know which religion, which political party, which class, which doctrine you believe in. Now, this whole thing happened in the public and private sectors of the nation's economy. And we have touched on so many areas. Moving forward, as much as we had losses, is it enough for us to lose hope?
No, it is not. Actually,
the government is taking so many steps.
Not only
private sector person is taking so many steps.
It's not enough to lose hope. Actually, NSAS, as important as the concept of so-called police brutality is, was actually a symptom of a real problem. A real problem is we have youths, we have a youthful population. We were 45 million or so at independence. At 60, we were 207 million. We are going to be 262 million estimated by 2030, 400 million by 2050. The real problem is we are growing, and because we have discovered oil, we have lost contact with the reality of other things we are supposed to do, to engage ourselves. And then on the one side, we have a political elite, made of elected people who are living flamboyant lifestyles, which these youth who are unemployed are looking out to, or who are looking at. And they are unemployed, they have nothing to do, they are hopeless. They have been trained to believe that when they come out of school, they will just get jobs. So these are the real problems. We have a nation that has capacity in terms of its economy. It can develop its people, it can get its people to work. But unfortunately, we have lost that since about 1970-80, when we discovered the beauty of oil, and we now change our lifestyle, everything foreign and all that. Now, those are the problems. So once we need to talk to ourselves, we need to realize we have to live within our means. We have to actually get everybody to work. But then we have to get people to, rely on themselves, to be entrepreneurs, not to rely on government. Everything, when you give an assignment to any student, and say, give recommendation, they will say, government should do this, government should do that, government should do this. The real thing about entrepreneurship is that people should look at situations and problems and come up with interesting ways of resolving them that will make money for them, including technology, for example. A lot of our problems, security, unemployment, all these problems can be solved by technology. So which means we have to change the method and approach of teaching or inculcating knowledge. But what I want, as much as possible, is that we have the capacity in this country. We can actually engage our people, charge them, to want to be innovative, to create these things. These things he was talking about chips that are placed on cattle in Botswana and all that. We can do that. I believe if we challenge Nigerians can do this. If it can be done in Botswana, it can be done here. We have, I saw a video of a secondary school in Kenya, whereby attendance is taken by, when a student comes in, a thumbprint. It was developed, somebody developed it there. So I challenged my ICT in my own university to do the same, because I want to do what? I want us to be able to get attendance automatic. What does it take? So what I'm trying to say is that the way the world is moving is towards technology. We must all embrace it. And we have what it takes. Our youth are very creative. We have to engage them, but we have to change their mindset from thinking that they will get everything from government. But those who are leading us should live by example. They should not, be riding the biggest jeeps in town, the largest, when they are moving around with so much security around them. Meanwhile, there is no security with the poor. We need to do that. We are not a very rich nation, but we are a nation that is rich in its potential. So we should stop deceiving ourselves that we are rich. We are not, because if you look at the resources we have, given the population we have, it will not go around. Okay. But we can actually engage ourselves to actually bring out this wealth. We have what it takes, but we need the political commitment, and more importantly, they need to live within the means of what we can afford in Nigeria.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okuku, investment expert, it was nice having you on Tuesday Live tonight.
Right, thank you very much.
And Professor Yushao Angu, it was also nice having you on the program.
It's my pleasure.
I've always had you via Zoom, and
yes.
to hear you physically.
Yeah, I'm here now.
Okay, we looked at NSAS protest, the cost to the economy. Thank you so much for your tweets and your phone calls. It added value to the program. On behalf of all of us, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
NTA, you can't beat the reach.
From dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day, NTA International is with you. In your living room, office, and everywhere, anywhere. We provide a company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs, and the best of entertainment. Tune in to DSTV channel 251, GoTV channel 91, Freeview channel 264, or live streaming via www.visiontv.co.uk. Application for iOS or Android. Intelsat 901/332.5 degrees east. You can also see us on Facebook and YouTube for quality content on the go. NTA International, Africa's window to the world.
Issues in the sports sector remain one of the most debated among Nigerians due to the passion, followership, government involvement, impact on Nigeria's external image and our national life in the sports parliament. The NTA offers Nigerians deep views on issues with experts in the sports sector, offering in-depth analysis, hindsight, insight and foresight towards elevating Nigerian sports to the zenith on the floor of the sports parliament. Sports Parliament, a unique platform for sports discussions, showing live on the NTA. Keep a date with the parliamentarians.
Your eyes have it.
You can follow us on all our social media platforms: Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online. Or visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go, be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop, or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application from your Play Store or App Store. NTA, you can beat the rich.
Dialogue, empathy, love, and unity. These are vital components of nation building.
We have lived in harmony with Igbos, with Hausas, with Edo. Everybody that comes to this state, we have lived in harmony. Because we believe in the unity of this country.
We call for peace, we call for calm, but we also call for justice and accountability.
Let's build and not destroy.
This is the network service of the NTA.